Sanbonani, Dumelang, Absheni. Hello, everyone. Welcome to QENA Informative Talks with Larata and Cherise.
I love that. Hello,
Yeah,
how are you?
missing home today.
I know, we are.
Yeah.
We are.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. And
good.
I'm so excited about our topic today.
Yes.
And it's a very common topic, and I think a lot of people have been diagnosed with it,
Yes.
and kids and even adults. So it's one of the topics that people are very familiar with, and yeah, let's dive into it.
Yes, so ADHD and ADD, well, mainly known as ADHD, is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. And yeah, this is quite well known. Many know of it, many have it. And yes, we're just going to talk a little bit more about it. The causes of ADHD is, as research show, it's unknown, but there are many theories.
Yep.
One of them are neurobiological issues. It could be hereditary, it could be environmental, so we're still unknown.
There's a lot of research that has been done, and with the new, I would say, as the technology is evolving, we're really getting to find out more and understand it better, but we really can't pinpoint and say this is the cause yet. So yeah, we'll just leave it there, and people can obviously do more research and find out about it according to where they are. That's another thing, because the availability of specialists differs from country to country.
Yes.
So yeah, it makes it. But there are 3 types of ADHD. And the first one is inattentiveness, which is they lack the ability to focus. Hyperactive, which is the one that is people are most familiar with, or impulsive.
Yes.
It's a very high hyperactive. And the third one would be it's combined, basically. A child could have, or an adult, inattentiveness and hyperactive at the same time.
Yeah.
So we'll also dive into the symptoms, which they're self-explanatory, which when you look at the 3 types, which is inability to focus, lack of attention, they forgetfulness. It's one of the main things that shows that a child could have it, because they could be going to the toilet, coming back, they wanted something, they forget. In school, they forget their pen where they left, their bags, their pencils, shoes, all of these things.
And that could get them into quite a bit of trouble, the forgetful parts, because they forget to do certain tasks. It could be related to homework, it could be related to chores, it could be related to work that they've had to listen to or make notes, so that could lead them into
being in trouble.
Being in trouble, and also obviously that is directly linked to their self-image and what they're capable of doing, and that's how they would reflect it.
That's why then you find that, this is a naughty boy, because they don't listen, which is inattentiveness, and at the same time they forget to do what they are expected to do in school, and even out of school. At home, moms obviously would be complaining that I bought these shoes yesterday or last week. Oh my God, came back with 1 shoe.
How many times have you heard parents saying, I've had to buy so many school shoes and so many school jackets?
Exactly, because they just forgot them in the playground area, and they can't even remember where they forgot them. Water bottles, all of these things.
So, I know that's a general thing with children. They have to be coached. And I mean, they can't expect them to remember all the things, but I think more so for people with ADHD, adults as well. I mean, they're also forgetful. So that's very hard for them to multitask, as another one, or to switch between different tasks, different cognitive differences. And they're easily distracted, which I find you'll pick up a lot, especially you coming from a teacher's
Yeah.
background. In class, you
Yeah.
deal with so many children, so you can see which ones are easily distracted,
Yeah.
right, and what their struggles are.
One of the routines that we'll do is that before you start a lesson is that making sure that they remove anything from the desk, literally anything. And even when we're using devices, make sure that they close their laptops, because sometimes it's easy for them to just Google something.
Yes.
And, and it's their device, so they obviously have apps and everything. So
any movement
exactly,
it's
distracting them. So yeah, we just make sure that you clear the area and have all the things that they need for their lesson specifically. And yeah, it really helps, and it helps them to concentrate at that time. And this also touches on the tips that we'll be talking about it later. And also, they can't wait for their turn. Most of the time, they're impatient. You find them that they can't just wait while another child is still doing a task, or they have to, even during conversation, they just interrupt others while they're talking. And this also comes back in when they're having social skills. Because it touches their social skills, and other kids, they tend to push them back because obviously they don't like when they're not listened to. And they speak, they're quite talkative most.
And it's quite sad, actually, if you think about it, that because a lot of the times I find with ADHD children who struggle with the social part, they don't realize when they've interrupted someone. They don't realize their impulsive actions and behaviors has an effect on others, and then directly has effect on them regards to their relationships with their peers or family members or friends, or so it does affect them. And you mentioned a nice story that I liked about how you make them aware of it. Could you share that with me?
Yeah. So I had this one student that had ADHD, and I was doing in support class with him. And normally, what I would do with after he had that incident, I would take him, and we had these inclusion rooms, and we'll talk about it and ask him, did you think you've hurt maybe Lena, for instance, just to make an example? And he would think about it. No, why? He would ask me. Like, no, if you say that to your friend, it makes them feel sad. You think you've hurt them because you've said that. And then, only then, when they're processing it outside the incident, it will dawn to them that, oh, I actually did. Oh, I'm so sorry, miss. I will not do it again, And those are instances or incidences that you see that there's more to it than a child being naughty, than a child just trying to hurt his friend. But it is an impulse issue that they have. They just speak whatever that comes to their mind. They don't think about what they're going to say. And that is something that also they can be trained on. But as a parent, you would also obviously pick up on that. And yes, children at the early age of their lives, obviously they don't think what they're going to say most of the time. But they get to an age where they are able to think, and they know they're considerate to other people's feelings and all of that. So there is a slight difference in that, and parents also should be aware and say, no, my child has ADHD. No, sometimes it's just training them and understanding the difference, and you will see that it would be a bit more than a normal.
As a teacher, do you think like having that coaching at school, and let's say at home as well, coaching and creating that awareness with these kids is part of a process that they take that will help them become more aware of the situation, so that they can avoid these things in the future?
Definitely making them it also touches on self-awareness, making them being self-aware of their actions, their decisions, and their I would say, behavior.
Yeah.
It makes them understand their world around them and also interact with people, and their social skills. It's then being developed. So I think that is part of the holistical approach of teaching, that where you just don't look at academia, that they need to pass and all of that, but touches also on their social interaction. Because if they're not happy and if they're being pushed back by their kids, definitely when you give them a lesson or a worksheet, they will not want to engage in that, because what's the use? My friends don't like me. But if they're happy with their friends, if they understand their friends, then they're able to also just engage in lessons. So it does make a huge impact.
I can imagine that would really make a big difference
to
the child, because having the struggle as it is and then dealing with social issues could be quite a lot of things to deal with. You know, then it's not just external things, it's also internal things that they have to deal with that we don't see necessarily.
The battle that they fight in their minds, you know, and also maybe being told by their friends that, oh, you should talk too much, or whatever the case may be, because kids obviously don't have a way of, I would say, telling their friends to stop doing things. You just tell them that like it is, bluntly so. And having those things that have been said by their friends, negative things, so that you talk too much, you do this, or obviously it comes to them inside, consciously, unconsciously, and it deals with their confidence, which is one of the things we spoke about before we start recording, that it does touches on their confidence and their personality. So it really does make a huge difference, and I think that's where parents, teachers should really be aware of their kids' social skills only, and not just expect kids to come with A scripts only, and like, oh, you're doing well, but check as a parent, how are they socially? Check as a teacher, how are they socially? Because that affects them so much in how they will perform in class and outside.
And ideally we're trying to eliminate as much, you know, giving them challenges, and they already have challenges, but so not bubbling them per se, but giving them the right kind of challenges that they could cope with. You know,
that's true. And another one would be loss of track of time. They lose track of time. Once they're in an activity, they just want to continue in that activity, or they just want to play, whatever activities they're doing. So they do lose track of time most of the time. And difficulty planning and organization.
That's the main one, right? One of the biggest ones.
One of the biggest ones. And it will touch on our next topic, which is executive functioning. That we're going to talk about in our next session. So looking forward to that one.
So the next thing I wanted to talk about was the diagnosis and treatments. So usually, depending on the country, because different countries have different professionals that do that, but usually it's like a neurologist or an educational psychologist that usually does the diagnosis. And treatments for that, there's a few. Medication is one of them. I know there are people prone and not prone to use medication, so that's each individual's decision. With or without medication, you could also do behavioral therapy. You could also do occupational therapy, which helps with the hyperactivity side. Occupational therapy is amazing.
It's amazing.
It really is amazing. There's so many different activities that the occupational therapists have that stimulate certain parts of the brain and body to get them to a point where they don't feel like they need to burst out from all this energy. They actually get to calm down, and then there's that gap that you could use to work with them where they could actually focus and they don't have the need as much to bounce.
Because sometimes they do need that. They do. All right, next we'll be looking at the tips, giving our tips and how to deal with them, because sometimes you're thinking, okay, I have a child, I think they might have ADHD. How do I deal with it? And one of the main thing, I think, if possible, I say this because I know some countries these specialists and other people are not available, or they're quite expensive. So collaboration is one of the biggest main thing.
Yes.
Working with the teacher, working
Absolutely.
with the specialist, whether it's OT, and working also with the parent. So that triangle helps to better the child's performance.
Absolutely.
Because what you're doing in class, the teacher is doing in class, parents can instill it. And then the OT can also instill it. So basically what is done by the OT can be done by the teacher, can be done also by the parent at home.
Yes.
And I know that in the UAE, you will have learning support that will actually come in and work directly with the teacher and the OT. So the OT will tip over what they're doing, and they will have an IEP that is written, an individual educational plan of a child. And then what we then do is that the learning support will come in. We either do intervention, like pull out, take a child to the different class, small class, where they will have one-to-one with them, or sit in class while the teacher is still teaching, helping them to calm down, like giving them breaks whenever they're tired, or they just need to move around. You know,
that collaboration is amazing, and it really makes a big difference.
It does.
It really does.
It does.
And having the IEP also helps quite a lot. This IEP, educational planning, that helps so much.
It really, really helps. And fidget toys, this one
is a tricky one.
It is a tricky one. It is a tricky one because one of the students that I worked with, he used to have the fidget toy, and then he will start playing like
because they have such great imaginations, you see, and it's not a bad thing, but we need those moments where they can listen in the class and focus on the work that's being taught, right? So having that separation from imagination to education.
Exactly.
And it doesn't help with kids with big imaginations.
Exactly. So you have to find out what works and which fidget toy will work, because they can generally use anything. From a pencil to a razor,
a ruler,
anything they can use, you know. So you have to find out what works for the child you're working with, or your child, whatever the case may be. You just need to find out what works with them. So after seeing that, I'm like, oh,
no fidgets,
no fidgets,
any fidget toys.
You know,
I suppose it depends on the child and the need, because I know a lot of the times there are kids with other kinds of sensory needs where they need soothing. They need to be soothed by, let's say, a teddy or a blanket, or I know it's not ideal at school. I'm just using it as an example. Maybe it's a texture of a eraser or like a rubbery soft silicone. There's usually something that's soothing that would be fine. So it all depends on the situation, I think, and the individual and what could work. Are they extremely imaginative? Then fidget stuff not go well.
No, it will not go. We stopped using fidget toys for him, and it really worked. But you have to, when you stop, you have to find something else that will help them too. And sitting in front of the classroom really helps.
Oh yes.
Yeah, it really helps. And a buddy that could make them to actually progress and do things. Not a buddy that would actually
help playing with them.
Exactly.
Take part in the imagination story.
Exactly.
So when you say buddy, would that be could you give more details on that?
So a buddy could actually be a classmate. Anyone in the class, maybe a child that is, you could say, slightly does better than him, or even
a stronger academic
child. Yes, that's the word. A strong academic child. And someone that is also, I would say, more of it, that has possessed a leadership that would lead him into doing things, because you also want someone that will influence him. Like, let's do it now. Stop doing that. Let's do that, because sometimes kids tend to listen to their friends than they would do to a teacher.
They learn more from their peers than they do from others.
So that's buddy. It really works. It really works. But also changing them once in a while, not the whole year. because sometimes they get bored
Yes.
of them, or I would say you use your own discretion and see
Yes.
what works. So changing them around
Yes.
around the class with different people also helps to create relationships,
Yes.
friendships with other kids. So yeah, it really helps to have a buddy
Okay.
sitting in front. And regular breaks, I've already mentioned that. And have
Yes.
a visual chart. This one helps a lot.
The visual chart, yes, or anything visual.
Anything visual,
Yeah.
especially the younger ones. Okay, the older ones, we could say they could use a to-do list. You could write a list
Oh,
for
yes,
them,
like a checklist.
like a checklist, yeah. Or in the board, which is most teachers I know in the UAE do that. They will have a timetable written literally
Yes.
in the top corner where they will see, and every lesson kids will just scratch it out, like you were telling me.
I have that with my kids. I do because I do homeschooling, so it helps to prepare them for the day to say that these are the subjects we have for the day. And my oldest, which has dyslexia, he's the one that usually goes and ticks off as we've completed each task or each subject. So I could see it really makes a big difference in his life. And we also have what I usually do is I print out monthly calendars, and I usually have the current month we're working in and the month in advance. So it shows exactly which days and which weeks we've completed and what's lying ahead. So there's that visual. So he has that subconsciously, which helps him plan his life ahead as well.
Yeah.
And that really gives them the sense of ease if they know what's coming.
Yeah, that's true. With the younger ones, the visual chart, what we'll do, we have like literally pictures of.
That's so nice.
And it's cute to be honest. So you have a picture of maybe the first thing we sing an assembly. We at the assembly singing, and then you have a picture of PE and the teacher, PE teacher, and then you have music, and then that music teacher, and then you have maybe snack time. Then you show them. You take a picture of them while they're eating snack, and then you show them. Then after that, we're going to go to the large playground, so they know. And then after each, I would say, program is done or each period, they will just remove the pictures so they know, and it gives them a sense of achievement. Like, oh, I've done this. That dopamine kicks in, and they're like, oh, I've done that. I finished this.
Have you seen the difference in having them not prepared with a visual something versus having that visual so that they can feel that sense of I know it's coming?
Yeah, I have seen the difference because it helps them with transition.
Yes.
Because sometimes what also helps is that tell them 5 minutes before that 5 minutes left. We are about to leave. We're going to music now. Let's prepare for music. So they are able to disengage from what they're doing so that they can start. They can prepare themselves mentally for the next period. Where else, if you just stop them abruptly, like, okay, guys, tidy up, let's go.
And that's one of the things that they also struggle with, is the ability to work between 2 different tasks or more.
Yeah.
So that's actually a really nice way. Of preparing them.
So
for the next
subject or period. So it really helps a lot. You do see the difference, and they don't freak out, and you avoid those meltdowns or whatever the case, tantrums, whatever the case may be. Because if they're like that going to a next period, definitely maybe the first 5 minutes in that period will not be an easy one for them. And they might behave otherwise because they're still upset. That
they need to be prepared emotionally and mentally for it.
They really need to be prepared. And the last one would be reward systems. And I know we discussed about this.
Yes.
And we want to tread carefully on it because there are pros and cons, and it depends how you're doing, especially as a teacher and also as a parent, and you want them to learn the life lessons at the same time, and you don't, I would say, bribery. Some parents find it as if it's bribery.
You can call it bribery. I have to say that was a tricky one for me, and it sounds so simple when you say reward system. But actually it's not, especially if you don't know exactly what kind of rewards to put in place, because that's where it becomes tricky, is knowing what is the right kind of reward, and also something that they would latch onto, like, oh, it intrigues their curiosity and the willingness to actually do something. So it's very tricky to find that reward, but also balancing it with an appropriate reward without it becoming a bad habitual thing, if I can put it that way.
Yeah.
So I did read a book once, which is a guy that I really love reading his books, and he's got podcasts and things. He's James Dobson, Dr. James Dobson. And he's got a lot of parenting books, which is amazing. And he specifically, the topic that he spoke about was having a reward system, and how he explained it was. And that really just gave me a different perspective on it. Because I used to think, no, I don't do bribing, it just doesn't work. And he just changed my perception on that completely. So how he explained it was, we all, as humans in life, we all work for a reward in the end of the month, which is our salaries, right? So it's not a bad thing to have a reward system, but it's balancing the right type of reward. So you can't pay the money for everything, because that's not how it works. So you have to try and it goes as per individual. So let's use it for a teenager, you'll have a different reward than you'll have for a toddler or a primary school, you know. So, and also finding that right reward.
Yeah.
Not dangerous, not something that's going to enable bad behavior or bad psychology, if I could put it that way, from the child's side.
Yeah. And moral,
moral.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, definitely in that.
Yeah.
Because, I think we should stop there.
Yeah.
We should stop there, and parents and teachers will use their own discretion in how they do it. And
there's lots of tips on websites and YouTube videos.
Yeah. Yes, there are a lot of YouTube videos that you can check on and just look into that, especially with reward system. And I know that also Montessori has a different one in how they do their positive and reinforcement.
They actually have a lovely one.
It actually has a lot. Yeah. All right, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. And Cherise is going to give us tips and tells us what we're going to be looking at next week.
Yes. So for now, we'll just share some YouTube videos and links, more things related to ADHD. So next week, we'll be looking more into detail when it comes to executive functioning. Lots of interesting stuff to learn there as well that I found very fascinating. So I can't wait. Stay tuned.
Yes.
Okay, for next week.
Yeah. Please check on our description box, self-assessments that you can do at home, website, YouTube videos, and thank you for tuning in. See you next time.